Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Ha! Ha! Talking about a movie.
Ah!
Ha! Ha! Ha!
That was the sound of the laughs in the theater.
Yeah, it was. Ha! Ah. It's funny. Clap! Clap for the movie.
There was a guy behind us clapping so fucking like he was intimidating other people with his claps.
Right, they were bullying people.
They really were. There were some bullies in there. They really were.
Right.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
My name is David Bell,
My name is Adam Ganser.
and we just watched Ant-Man and the Wasp in Quantumania, the first
Yeah.
film.
You're an interesting man, Scott Lang. You're an Avenger. You have a daughter. But you've lost a lot of time, like me. We can help each other with that.
It took us on a journey. It took us on a real journey. And I mean, like, Dave and I exchanged mournful glances more than one time in the context of this film. Yeah.
I said at certain points, like, all right, I guess that's what you're doing. Like that, why not? I guess that makes as much sense. All right, but before we begin, before we actually talk about this movie,
right?
Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, my pleasure.
Thanks for being a guest co-host.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Do you wanna plug anything?
Sure. Hey guys, thanks for having me. Always glad to appear on, I guess, Marvel podcasts. Like I feel like I've done a lot of these with you that are Marvel somehow. It is weird, but if you'd like to hear me talk about what is, I guess, my favorite pastime, it's playing video games, and I do that on One-Upsmanship, the podcast I have with Michael Swaim. That one's a weekly podcast. We cover all the greats. Come check us out. Also, you can find some of my other work at Small Beans, our sister Patreon. And finally, if you'd like to see me play video games and get into, philosophical arguments with my chat, come do that over at The Real Gans, where I stream on Twitch. Happy to do that, Happy to do all those things.
Happy to have you here.
Oh, happy to be here, 100%.
Yeah.
Dave, can I... Look, I know you don't like this. I'm sorry. But, like... I need a little background here, man. Like I was so lost.
Wait. So, all right.
I was so lost watching this movie.
Okay. I know. Listen, I know for a fact you saw at least Wakanda Forever.
Sure. That one didn't feel like it was related to everything else, and I think that's why I liked it.
This is definitely like there's a lot leading up. What was the last?
Okay, so I realized I have seen that Doctor Strange movie, the multi-curse one. That made me aware of WandaVision, but to truth be told, I don't think I've understood or ingested intellectually what's going on in Marvel since the snap, like since the end of the snap sequence.
So that's like phase 4. Hold on, I'm googling.
Is that what it is?
Okay. I have. Okay.
I don't know the phases.
Jesus. Okay.
I don't know.
So
them, Dave.
all right. I think it's phase 4 after the snap. Okay, let me.
So like I saw.
Sorry.
Okay. I saw.
I have them all in front of me.
Oh God, you must have
because I think this is the beginning of phase 5 now. I want to say. Don't quote me on that, folks, if you're listening. Okay, let's quickly bring you up to speed.
Okay. Quickly bring. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get this. I know people are going to get annoyed, but like, just a little bit of context, could we please?
Yeah, a little bit of context. Okay, so Black Widow was the first one after Endgame. I'm sorry, I'm reading this and I'm like, right. It was. I can't fucking believe that.
This is the ScarJo joint?
Yes, that movie took place like years before Endgame. They basically do a retcon because the thing with Black Widow, if you spoil it, guys, spoilers for all the phases.
Okay, yeah. All
just saying
phases
that
are
right
getting
now.
spoiled here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but again, we're gonna rush through this, but like,
Sure. Sure.
Fuck. So Black Widow, Jesus Christ. So she died in Endgame.
Yeah, I
and
remember
so
that.
Black Widow takes place like years before Endgame because I think they realized that they never completed her personal story arc. So all Black Widow is her completing her personal story arc, which is that the Red Room stuff, like that she was a spy and she was brainwashed. It's about her completing that. And apparently she didn't tell anybody she did it. Like it feels hastily where they're like, "Oh yeah, no. She completed that stuff. See, we made a movie. It's a flashback." So the entire movie is just a flashback of her completing her personal arc.
They couldn't.
And then she kind of.
They could have just been like, "Just trust us."
I don't know. It felt like they were supposed to make this movie years ago and they forgot. Because then it ends, I remember it ends with her like flying off into the sunset. Like, I got some friends to help. And I'm like, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Like, we know you're going to die. So that's Black Widow. That was not like, that felt like it was an add-on. Like it was like a extended post-credits scene.
Okay.
It was fine. Whatever.
Briefly, Dave. I'm very alarmed right now. I'll tell you why I'm alarmed. Are you ready? I need you to know. I need you to know why.
We're on the first movie.
I'm really alarmed. I need you to know why. Like, what this is telling me already is that there is not a single thread that Marvel will not make into a feature film. Not a single
thread. They also don't care about telling a story. Like, it's very clear that they basically, it's like when you tell a joke and then the punchline doesn't make sense and you're like, oh, right, I forgot to mention, like, that's what this movie is. It's basically them being like, oh, right, we didn't complete her story, so let's make this movie now.
But is it possible that they only made that movie because, like, her contract was running out? Because didn't she do a big contract thing?
No, what I think it is she literally, they killed her off and then they realized, you have another movie in your contract. And we didn't make that movie. That's what it feels like. It's an add-on where they go back again like 3 years. Yeah. And they're like, by the way, this happened and no one talked about it. Like in that movie, a sky castle crashes and like makes this horrendous explosion. And it's one of those moments where you're like, so no one mentioned this in the other films, huh? This isn't okay, sure. I guess this happened.
Yeah, the pure trauma that has taken place in this universe from just the film we just watched and this one you're describing to me would be like we'd have generations of films about it. We'd make Batman movies that were like based on the castle falling. They would always be a castle villain, like metaphorically.
It's wild because it's this giant base and it just sort of crashes. And like if you remember Age of Ultron, the whole stakes was this thing is going to crash into the earth and it's going to be huge. In this, it just sort of falls and it's fine. And like literally there's characters who like fall with it and they like land near it and it's like, it's fine. It was fine. Not a big deal. It wasn't a big deal.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, Dave. So wait a minute. Black Widow doesn't really have superpowers, right?
No, I don't think she does. I forget. So it's like a skydiving scene at the end. Right. It's not a bad idea. This movie was as scaled down as Marvel gets these days. And so like I remember watching it and being like, well, this is quaint, I guess. It's only just one giant destruction sequence. Oh wait, no, there's like an avalanche. There's like a Russian prison. Okay. It's like a spy film, if I remember. But it's been a while.
That's kind of what I want out of Marvel movies because I think, from what I can tell from the 3 movies I've ingested in Phase 4, every one of them ends with an army these days. Right?
Yeah, they all do.
Yeah.
The next one. So, oh my God.
You're going one by one?
God. So Shang-Chi. I guess Shang-Chi matters. Okay. Shang-Chi, you didn't see Shang-Chi in The Legend of the Ten Rings.
No, I did have a few friends who shamed me about not having seen that.
Very good martial arts.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Won't take that away from it.
Sure.
But we're just talking about the broad strokes of what's going on in the universe, so I'm not going to go into that, but it's about these 10 mystical rings in this mystical realm, which I guess have just existed for the whole time. I forget why they didn't have, there's so much of this in these new movies. There's a lot of people going, So here's why we didn't help out with Thanos, because there's that question where you're like, where the fuck were you?
Because we were in the other spot. Yeah.
Right, where they're like, we were busy doing this, and it's like, what? But okay, sure. And that gets worse and worse as we go through these movies. But Shang-Chi, Jesus fucking
Okay, wait,
Christ.
just quick philosophical question.
All right. I'll just do the. Okay.
I'm sorry, Dave. I just really
No,
quick,
no, it's fine. It's
really
fine.
quick philosophical question. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if I could mark the history of Marvel after the snap, they introduce in like a more concrete way the multiverse, right? Like that's what's
coming.
happening.
That's
Okay.
not quite yet.
So like it's a problem. This is a problem because the multiverse also has alternate dimensions in it. You know what I mean? Like every multiverse also has heaven, hell, the spiritual realms, like Valheim, right? Like it has all this shit in it, right?
I guess. I'm not sure. I think so. Again, we get into that with like the Loki one,
right?
Where there's like multiverse realms that are just like there's like single places. There's like the end of the time or something, and so I guess there are singular. One? I think so because all the multiverse variants are occupying it. So I think there are certain realms where there's only one, but you're right, is like Asgard. I think so. Think of it this way: Asgard isn't a dimension; it's a planet. So it's not
is that what they did? Okay, all right.
The Bifrost, I believe, is the idea of the way Thor travels. And I want to get into this actually a little bit because we'll talk
into this.
Well,
okay,
we'll talk about Thor. My point is, all right, we'll go quick. But there's like I mean, I think it's all relevant for talking about this film.
Sure,
this film doesn't pick you up like this film just drops you into it. So
sure
it's like
does.
you have to have some context.
Yeah. Need to know about Thor. Apparently, need to know.
Yeah. All right. Shang-Chi. I'll go quick. Shang-Chi is just these magical realms, and it's this character Shang-Chi which discovers these rings that give him power. It ends with a big battle sequence like you're describing. Like everything's a war, and it's like this ultimate evil that they're not letting out that gets out and they defeat it. I'm like, well, shit, that could have been its own Avengers. But sure.
So like
the thing to know.
Okay. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
No, it's fine.
I just need to know, like, is Shang-Chi based on like an actual mythological pantheon or anything that I need to know about?
Fucked if I know.
Because like sometimes Marvel's like, okay, it's Thor and it's Zeus. And
it ties into Ben Kingsley and the 10 rings or whatever from Iron Man 3, where it's like.
Okay.
That was a fake version in Iron Man 3, and now this is a real version.
Oh.
I think is the idea.
What?
And like again, it's been a while for Shang-Chi. I do remember, and I was just scanning through the plot. The important thing is that the film ends with Captain Marvel and the Hulk discovering that the rings are a beacon. They're like, this is calling something to us, these rings. And then they never we'll never hear about that again. Shang-Chi, the character, never shows up in any of these films.
How dare you? Wait a minute. How dare you say we'll never hear about that again? Because you goddamn know there'll be a TV show about the rings.
I'm reading
know
here
that's happening.
Reading the actor has said like nobody has talked to him about any further Shang-Chi.
Oh, the actor? So, get out of here.
All right, that's fair.
Get out of here.
What I'm getting at is I think these first couple movies of this phase it's Marvel making a bunch of offers and everybody saying nah, and them going, okay, well, what about this? What about this? How about this? And Shang-Chi was one of those offers where they're like, do you like this? Can this be a thing? And I wouldn't be surprised if we never hear of this realm, this mystical realm, any of it ever again. It just didn't. We haven't heard anything of it, and it sort of ended with this. Oh, someone else is looking for these rings or something. I think it was. Maybe it's Kang. I don't fucking know.
Look, Dave. I don't want to get ahead of her. I don't want to get ahead.
Yeah,
I don't want to get ahead, but I do want to say everything you're saying, every single word that is falling out of your face right now is betrayed by the existence of MODOK. MODOK is a fucking shit all over that idea that you just said. Like,
I know. None of it.
I need you to know that.
Again, it's just an offer. Well, okay. You want me to catch you up or not?
Sorry, you're right. I'm being rude. I apologize. Please continue.
All right. So this is the first one that might have some. So WandaVision was the show. Did you not watch WandaVision?
Why the fuck would I have watched that? Why would I watch a TV show?
Yeah, the idea of Wanda. I didn't watch them all, so I'm not going to be able to explain all of them for the record.
Fair enough.
Maybe some of the TV shows filled in the blanks. I don't think we should be expected to watch all of these. So, you know, WandaVision was about...
But we are, though. We are expected to watch all these. That's what strikes me more than anything else.
Right.
It's like they expect me to know what's going on. Like, I thought Loki was dead as far... Like, right? Why is Loki even alive? I don't even know that.
All right, so that's the Loki show. That'll okay. Do you want me to explain the Loki show first?
I guess you're gonna have to. I don't know what to say.
So if you remember in Endgame, Loki takes the Tesseract and leaves in another dimension.
Okay.
Like they go back in time and they create these the idea, if you remember in Endgame, they have to go back and get the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
One of them's in the Tesseract.
Right.
And they go back to Avengers 1. Loki steals the Tesseract and fucks off.
Right.
And he's not supposed to do that. And so what happens
he's
in
not
the Loki...
supposed to by movie rules? Is that right? Okay, fair enough.
And so at this point, Loki just keeps dying and coming back to the point that it's like, okay, I mean, you know this, Marvel, it's like no one
nobody's
dies.
really
it doesn't
dead.
fucking matter.
Right, nobody's
Nothing,
really dead.
no stakes.
Right.
And so Loki goes to multiverse jail in the Loki show. It's called the Time Variance Authority, I believe. And the idea that the TVA...
There's a police system in the multiverse?
Yes and no, because if there were one, you'd think they'd show up in the movie we just watched.
Yeah.
Or in the Spider-Man No Way Home, where like all the variants show up. No TVA for that.
So
I think it's tied
sometimes.
Yeah, I think it show it. Okay, so if I remember Loki, the idea is he gets Owen Wilson and that's the post credits of.
Yeah. I noticed Owen Wilson got marveled. I didn't understand how that could be true.
His name is Morbius or something like that.
No.
Mobius. It's Mobius.
Wait,
that's his name.
Is this that movie everybody's making fun of?
No. It's Mobius, not Morbius.
Okay.
Mobius.
All right. Yeah, that's not confusing though. So
although Morbius,
well
Morbius, I think is also going to be part of this world.
My understanding is that Morbius is the worst movie ever made, and I mean, I don't want to get ahead of us, Dave, but like that we have a new contender. We absolutely have a new contender.
So I'm gonna Morbius.
Right.
If I remember, I think Michael Keaton shows up in Morbius, which means that Morbius does at the end merge into this universe, and I'll explain why later.
Merge into. Okay.
So there is a Mobius and Morbius.
Okay.
Mobius in
Great.
Loki.
What the fuck? That is atrocious. Like, wait a minute. Wait 1 minute. I have to listen to people talk all the time about what a genius Kevin Feige is, right? Like I have to hear this. I have to hear it on the internet. I have to hear it on your Discord. I have to hear this. And they can't even bother to name characters two different things. Like, get out of here.
There's a letter
Get
difference.
out. Oh yeah.
There's a letter difference.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
That's easily tracked. Forgive me. I didn't get my Marvel map out and spread it all over my bedroom.
No, these are all based on like comic books from the 70s anyway, where it was made by a bunch of fucking alcoholics who didn't care, right?
I mean,
who are just like naming things. That's the real thing about Marvel is it's all we're acting like that we're giving it so much reverence, or like these poor writers, because nothing against any of the writers who are like forced to tie in this bullshit.
Right.
And of course, nothing against the directors either. It's the source material. It's a bad story.
Quick pause it. Just quick pause it. Like just a quick, off the top of my head draw. You don't have to adapt everything.
No,
you don't. Remember when Tim Burton made Batman? And it was like, this is cool. Like this is a good idea for Batman.
They didn't put Superman into it. They didn't put the Flash.
Robin. They didn't put Oracle.
Yeah.
They didn't put any of that shit in here, and it was a pretty good fucking Batman. Like, what? Why do I need?
It's because
Morbius.
The problem is because unless you reboot it, it just keeps escalating, right? So Morbius. Okay. So Morbius, if we want to talk about that timeline, I don't quite remember. He's a vampire man, and I know at the end, the thing that happens in Spider-Man No Way Home, which seems like it should have been a bigger deal to the Loki TVA and to the multiverse in general. Basically, Morbius gets like sucked into this timeline, the Marvel timeline.
Right.
And then him and the Vulture team up for some reason.
The Vulture.
It ends with Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, showing up and going, we should do something together. And Morbius is like, yes, even though we have nothing in common.
Is that
And
going
I
to be?
think that's going to form
That's phase
like
6?
another. So here's the thing.
That's a whole phase right there, right?
I think they're quietly dropping those because I think that was the Sony stuff.
No, they're not. They're not dropping anything.
There are so many threads that they absolutely just hope we won't remember.
No, there are so many threads they hope we will remember that they are planning a fucking movie for in 2060.
It's both. I think because this is all around like what did good in the box office, what actors are around, they are dropping threads. They absolutely are.
Like name some threads they've dropped just so I can even remotely believe you.
Eternals is a thread they're
It's only
absolutely
been
gonna
2
drop.
years. It's only been 2 years. Not even that.
I don't think. Okay, so
Call me when it's 10 years.
All right. Let's go back to WandaVision. Let's.
Right.
I'm getting confused.
Oh, you're getting confused. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Dave. All right, let's go back to fucking WandaVision. Right, great.
Well, okay, we'll take it. Just quickly get through this, so we can talk about the movie.
How much did you fucking plan? You planned too much for this.
I didn't plan anything. You asked me to catch you up, and I'm going to catch you up with the Marvel phases. All right, so WandaVision.
I hate this. I wish
you asked. You wanted to know what happened.
I want you to know, Dave. I wish I was not doing this podcast.
Look. No one wants us to be doing this podcast.
I wish I was not doing this right now. I'd rather be playing a game or something.
I know. If we want to talk about Ant-Man, you have to know the context, of what happened.
This is fucking terrible, man. This is terrible. All right, go ahead with fucking WandaVision. Yeah.
WandaVision is, I'll be short. It was about her grief over losing Vision. Basically, she creates a fictional world where her and Vision are still together. Because if you remember, Vision died in Endgame.
This is the 50s one, right? Yeah.
Well,
okay. Right?
So what we learn, it actually advances all the way to like early 2000s TV. The idea is she's living out, which doesn't make sense. Because they established that Wanda was like found comfort in old television.
Yep.
And so she's modeled the world after that. But then the world starts evolving into different television styles. I'm not sure why. I guess just because the idea is Wanda watches a lot of TV.
This is the one where Catherine Hahn turns out to be the villain.
Yeah, who I guess will come back at some point.
Hey, briefly. I wouldn't have mind Catherine Hahn being the Kang of this universe.
That would be amazing.
Why not?
She's the villain. Only at the end they have a big pew pew fight, and then I think she goes away. And I think they're saying it seems like she's going to come back. They're giving her a spin-off show, and I don't know why. Because WandaVision, ultimately, WandaVision was them spinning their wheels, and what I mean by that is that she's about her grief with Vision, right? She creates this fictional world. And then in WandaVision, they create a second Vision robot and give him all of Vision's memories.
So they clone him.
By the end, and by the end of WandaVision, there's just another Vision. And she doesn't seem to care, or like he fights her fantasy Vision and then he flies off. And then once again, a thread. We're never going to hear about it for a while. You're right. It's maybe second season of WandaVision.
Yeah.
But
come on.
It's very weird because then she's going to show up you saw Multiverse of Madness. She doesn't seem to give a shit about the fact that there's another Vision. Like,
yeah, that wasn't mentioned. That's true.
They kill Vision and then they just bring him back, and it's like another case of like, okay, so no one dies.
Well,
no one dies.
Interestingly, like the one thing I've taken from that summary of that show is like Marvel's also perfectly content to say as long as the parts are all back together, it's the same person.
Yes, they are.
They don't have a ship of Theseus problem. They're like, yeah, it's no problem. And like that's the subject of most, like, I don't know, almost every robot movie up till this point in history has refused to just duck that question. And Marvel's like, yeah, we're not going to deal with that. It's
in their defense, like the other Vision is seen as a distinct other Vision, but you'd think Wanda would care, like even a little bit about what that Vision is, or maybe it is her Vision. It just flies off and she fucks off to that Doctor Strange movie.
And she's Red Witch now, right? She's Red Witch currently.
Yeah, and if you notice, nothing changed in her character in WandaVision. She starts being like, I'm mourning everybody's loss and I'm mean and evil because of it, and she does a shitty thing. Then at the end, she like breaks the spell of the town she's holding hostage for WandaVision.
Okay.
And then, of course, in Doctor Strange, she's like, I'm evil again. And it's like, so what was the point of WandaVision?
So they went all the way back.
Yeah, if you remember in Doctor Strange, she's like, I'm mourning the loss of my imaginary kids. Because you know how that her whole thing in that one is to bring back her kids?
Okay, yes.
The problem is those kids in WandaVision were artificially created by her.
But
they're imaginary kids.
I'm sorry, wait a minute. Fuck that, I don't care. Joke pitch. I just need you to
No, I care
pitch.
because it means that she then goes through the multiverse to find the kids.
Uh-huh.
But like, why are the kids real? If they were imagined in WandaVision, suddenly they're real in other dimensions, I guess.
Okay.
And so she pulls them out, and it's like can't she just make more kids then, imaginary kids, if she wanted to? If she's this evil and desperate,
she could, because there are absolutely no rules. So that's why I feel like joke pitch is actually the way to get an idea across in Marvel. Joke pitch, I feel like that's the fundamental transaction of meaning in this universe. Here it is, Dave. You ready for it?
Yeah.
You ready? Why doesn't she have her kids be played by the Olsen twins?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, everybody would be fucking
Olsen
excited
twins?
about it. Everybody would be excited about it. Seriously.
Well, they have to be children, so that's.
Dude.
I mean, yeah, fuck it. Have the adult Olsen twins play children.
They can't Grand Moff Tarkin the Olsen twins from all the Full House footage? Because I know they can.
No, you're right.
I know they can. Right.
I mean, fuck it. Why not?
You got it, dude. That's what should be happening. They should just do it. Why not?
Okay.
Isn't stunt casting like the number 2 priority of Marvel for real? Is it not?
Yeah. Well, no, at this point, because they don't give a shit. Nothing matters. So you're right. Because in the fucking Spider-Man, they bring back all the other Spider-Man actors, even though that doesn't make sense. They bring back if you remember the plot of Spider-Man. God, we're getting ahead.
Which Spider-Man?
Spider-Man No Way Home. That's okay. Did you see that one?
Nope.
That's of this.
Nope.
Fuck. Okay. Well, I didn't tell you. I didn't explain Loki yet, and that's extremely important.
Oh my God! Wait, how many things do you have? Like a rough total of how many things we have to go over?
There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 things that on this list that I've seen.
10 more things or 10 total? Like we've covered 3.
Total.
Okay, so this is still worth our time because I'm not doing a guy-led on this, Dave.
We'll rush.
I'm not doing 3 hours of this.
Yeah, we still have to talk about fucking Ant-Man. So let's.
All right.
We'll rush
Yeah. All right.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, same as WandaVision. Nothing happens, and it's just a placeholder.
Okay.
It's like 6 episodes. Do you remember at the end of Endgame where Captain America goes to the Falcon and he's like, "You're Captain America now"?
Yeah, that was the one. That was like one of 3 things I remember about Marvel leading up to that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So Falcon and the Winter Soldier starts with him going, "I don't want to be Captain America, actually," and then it ends with him going, "Yeah, I am Captain America."
Oh, I was like,
and
wait, what? They set that up, and he said no.
So basically what happens is in Endgame, he's like, "Be Captain America." He's like, "Yes."
Yeah.
And then he goes, "No." And then he goes, "Yes" again. And so nothing happens. Between the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's just him suddenly refusing to be Captain America. And then by the end saying, "Never mind, I'm going to be Captain America."
So,
to which I thought, like, didn't you agree to that at the end of Endgame? Why are we spending 6 fucking episodes to get us back to where we started?
I'm weirded out
and
by
that's
that.
all it is.
I'm weirded out by that because like that suggests to me that like that show exists purely to keep Captain America in our consciousness during a transitional phase. Like,
no, it's pandemic era. They were like keeping the ball in the air. Same with WandaVision.
That is
because it begins with her going, "I'm mourning the loss of Vision," and then at the end she's like, "I'm still mourning the loss of Vision, and I haven't changed." And it's like, then why did you make this show if the main character wasn't going to have an arc and not change it all? Like they basically used it to introduce new characters, like other. I know WandaVision, there's some other characters they introduced. Like, it's just placeholder. It's like Age of Ultron, where it's like nothing's actually going to happen. We're just going to build upon the lore for these shows.
So let me pitch you 3 things. You ready for this? I'm going to pitch you real quick. Just real quick pitches.
Real quick.
Okay, real quick. Stormtrooper Noir Detective. That's one thing, okay?
That's Star Wars, but yeah,
I know. Dude, it's all one pot of money. Don't even try it. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2. Actual rebooted original Star Wars, like just redo Star Wars with new cast members. We're actually gonna just redo it, you know?
Yeah, fuck it.
Okay, that's number 2, and number 3 is any original animated feature, like in any of these universes.
I can't help but notice that Marvel is nowhere in that plan.
I know that. But what I want you to do is suggest which of those three is worse than the money they spent on that show. Which of them is worse?
Well, here's the thing. It's all making money, right?
All those would make money. All those would make money.
Despite the fact that this is all nonsense that audiences forget almost immediately, I would argue, that have no rewatch value. They all make money. And they've learned that it doesn't matter if none of it makes sense consistently. If the characters just revert back to their old characters between films or just do things for no reasons, no one cares.
But wait,
no one seems to care anymore.
But legitimate counterpoint. I'm serious. Legitimate counterpoint. If they're making all this horse shit that is just about spending 3 hours like watching the show or whatever, and it's
right,
just
why not do something interesting?
I mean, especially because they can still they would make money on those things.
Yeah,
they would. So what?
Yeah.
Why? What is that? I don't understand that. I mean, I'm sorry. I know we're catching up, but like for real,
I know. No, I agree.
It's like it's not the real motive anymore.
It's not. The real motive is to suck this dry until it no longer makes money, and then you hire James Gunn to reboot the fucking world or something.
Why did they decide, by the way, that he's like the number one comic brain? Why have we decided that?
Oh, I can tell you why.
Okay.
Because James Gunn is the only person who understands that comics are dumb and weird and treat them that way. He doesn't treat them with the reference.
Yeah, that's right.
He will abandon ideas.
Yeah.
And he knows how weird they are. The film we just watched is James Gunn is all over it. They're trying to be weird. They're like, ooh, it's the quantum realm. For some reason, it's just like space. Can you believe this man's head is broccoli? Yeah, it's just like, what the fuck are we even doing?
They had a man whose head was a cannon, and and
they don't explain it. They just say it's kooky and weird. Isn't that funny? And it's like, it made sense when it was outer space and there's different aliens.
It kind of
doesn't make sense in this quantum realm.
I mean, my pitch for just a quick comment on the quantum realm, and I know we're jumping ahead.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
But sorry, just real quick comment on it. It makes less sense than any movie universe we've ever seen.
Right, because they stopped caring about it's at this point the sci-fi is so soft that it is, I would consider, soft fantasy. Like, it's soft for a fantasy world.
Like, I would argue,
like you are like, even at least fantasy has like specific races that belong in specific areas that you understand. This is like we're just putting things in here that we think are funny, and then we're pointing out how dumb they are, and we're not explaining them anymore.
It's like
we just don't care anymore.
This is like anti-narrative. It's like anti-structure.
Yeah,
like it's barely even.
It's the opposite of world building.
Yeah, it's world unraveling. Is what it is.
Yeah,
it's like tugging at a thread. You know, like
fuck. Sorry,
how many more do we have?
I just looked at this list, Adam. I have to talk about Eternals. Eternals is on this list,
but you
didn't see Eternals,
dude. No, because I would rather have played Breath of the Wild for the 5th time. And
so Eternals might be important, but I'm not sure. When we were talking about threads, So it turns out, Adam, that the whole other phases this whole time in Marvel, okay, like during Thanos, during all the other Avengers, the whole time,
okay,
there was a secret group of alien gods on Earth called Eternals. I think they're called Eternals. The movie's called Eternals.
Were they buried under the Earth's crust or something?
No, it's even wilder. In the movie, they say that they have like non-interference with human. They basically say the reason we didn't, and they're gods. Like, they could have killed Thanos with a fucking snap of their fingers. Like, Thanos is nothing to them. And they claim in the movie that they didn't want to get involved with Thanos because it's shaping civilization, which doesn't make any sense, because if you remember, Thanos is threatening literally the entire universe. On top of that, in Eternals, in this movie, they, in the same breath that they're saying this, they reveal that these alien gods also invented a bunch of shit for us. They've invented the automobile engine. They invented... Yeah, so like they're like, we don't want to get involved.
But here's an engine.
But yes, exactly. It makes no sense. They're like, we're non-involvement for Thanos, but we did a bunch of other things to involve.
But here's how fire works.
Yeah, no, literally, that's the shit.
Wow.
So it makes no fucking sense.
Wow.
Right away, Eternals. And so what we learn is that. God, all right. I'm blasting through.
Okay,
Eternals.
but do you know what the cracked sketch we would have made on this shit is? I know what it is now.
It's them like trying to figure out what they are. Like I feel like it'd be them in the room being like, none of this makes sense.
No, it would literally be like deity's court, and it would just be like figuring out who outranks who and who transgressed whose realm and shit. That's all.
Who's even more powerful
yes,
than who?
That is the crack sketch of this. 100%.
At this point, some of these fights, it's like they didn't even bother to tell us the rules. Of like who's more powerful than who.
Yep.
Why? Like I don't know what Kang is. I don't know what his powers were.
I don't know why they put him in a cape. I thought that was kind of weird in this day and age to put him in a cape.
Very strange.
Yeah,
because it's in the comics. So Eternals, Eternals also. It has Jon Snow in it, but he is of no consequence, and he's just kind of in the movie.
I'm sorry.
And at the end, it's revealed that he's going to be like some fucking knight character in another one.
I need to
clarify
clarify
this. They also set up Blade a little bit in Eternals.
Actual Blade, like Blade,
actual Blade. But you only hear his voice. It doesn't matter. The point? So the point of Eternals is that this is important. It feels like because I want to know where this fits into the quantum stuff. So the point of the Eternals is they learn that they are not actually gods. They are like robots who are like programmed to watch Earth because Earth is secretly an egg. It's an incubator for a giant god called a celestial. And those, if you remember, celestials have shown up in other stuff, and they seem like the big bads. Except no one liked Eternals, so I don't think they'll show up again.
What do we mean by big bads? What is a big bad?
They felt like they were going to be the next Thanos, the Celestials. They're literally like they look like Galactus, like they're these giant. I think they'll show up for the Fantastic Four.
We haven't seen Galactus yet, by the way. That's like one of the 4 things that I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
I gotta hold on. I have to.
All right.
Thank you. Because this is for my benefit. So let me get some comprehension here.
Okay.
Is Jon Snow being like actually Jon Snow?
No, it's the actor. Okay. I don't know his name.
Kit Harington, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you could have said yes, and I don't know if it would have made a fucking minute of difference.
It absolutely
right.
Would. Yes.
Okay. Sorry. I'll hold on now, Dave. Go ahead. Yeah.
So the ends with them basically rejecting their programming. They are not going to destroy Earth. They are not going to let this baby burst out of the planet. Which again, this baby, this giant robot, has been in our Earth's core since the start of time, and no one has noticed. Like Captain or fucking Iron Man, Thanos. No one has said there's a fucking baby in the middle of this planet.
Yeah.
It's just been there the whole time. And the ending of Eternals is this baby starts to erupt out of the Earth. It gets its head and its arms. You can Google a picture.
Oh.
It's massive. Like imagine like a massive giant tearing out of the planet, and they stop it as it's tearing out. It is the size of like a fucking continent, and it's halfway out of the Earth. Never gets mentioned again. Never gets mentioned again. And anything else after this, no one brings it up. That there is now a robot baby that is halfway out of the Earth. So while you were watching this movie, Ant-Man, know that there is a giant robot baby sticking out of the planet.
Why is it a robot?
No one's talking about it. Remember how at the beginning of Ant-Man, Paul Rudd is like, oh, it's pretty good now that I don't have anything to deal with or anything to fight. It's like, what about the giant robot baby? No one cares about the giant robot baby that is tearing out of the planet. So it must have like changed the orbit of the planet.
I kind of feel like, in a way, the Eternals is there just to like show how unimportant the Academy Awards are. I feel like that's really the point of it. Like, for real, because they took like an Academy Award winning director who she had a big breakout film and really has a lot of like interesting thoughts.
And they just took a dump right on her.
And they just like immediately sent her back into under the crust of the earth or whatever.
Yeah.
It
is such a bad movie. And the gall, like, again, I can't stress enough, the beginning of Ant-Man, Quantumania, which of course, if people haven't seen this, we're spoiling it, obviously. But like at the beginning, it starts with Paul Rudd being like, everything's great now that the world's fixed.
Yeah.
And like there's no mention of this movie Eternals, which ended, I can't stress enough, in a giant, like the size of Mount Everest head emerging from the fucking earth and just sticking out. And no one has spoken about it. Nobody. No one's talking about it.
I was gonna make some jokes about like what if it would be really funny if the Celestial was like a normal sized baby. But then I kind of realized actually there is no funny way for that Celestial to come out. Like there is
no.
Like
it was already kind of funny.
It's not really. It's actually like none of it is funny. You know what I mean? Like it's not a weird enough choice to be funny now. Is that too sarcastic of a comment?
No, absolutely. That's the thing is they're trying to be weird. Again, LOL, look at this broccoli head guy.
Right.
We're so random. But it's that sort of randomness where it's not actually random anymore. You can feel how derivative it is, where it's like everything kind of feels like it's just derivative from the last Marvel stuff. Them sort of glomming onto like, well, this worked. Let's keep doing this, you know? But Eternals didn't work. So can't stress this enough. No one has talked about that movie, even though they were clearly setting up the next like Avengers level event. Because it ends with a Celestial appearing over planet Earth, filling the sky and like talking. And again, everybody saw it. No one has brought it up again.
I feel like it's one of those "show me what you got," right? Like
it really was.
That's the vibe here.
Yes, that's the vibe.
Wow.
So like Spider-Man: No Way Home, even that film which came out next, no one's talking about this event. It's just it's like two different TV shows. You know what I mean? Where it's like the worlds aren't connecting anymore.
Like they're like separate universes.
Yes, it is.
So like that's the opposite.
That's probably. Honestly, that's probably how they'll explain it.
But it can't be.
I bet the Eternals will be a different multiverse. No, I agree it can't be. Because I almost guarantee in Eternal, well, this is the problem with the multiverse. They can now say, oh, that was a slightly different multiverse. Like they can just retcon anything they want now. That's what they can do with the multiverse. There's no rules to the multiverse. Well, sometimes characters look the same. Like in Spider-Man: No Way Home, Peter Parker is played by 3 different actors.
Right. Which was the cool thing about it.
Right, and yet Kang, as we're seeing, is played by the same actor.
Only because they haven't made their Kang miniseries yet. Because they would have retconned it.
Like, yeah, but what I'm saying is that they don't care. Like Loki in the Loki show is played by different actors. But then, like, again, like other characters aren't. Doctor Strange is always Benedict Cumberbatch in every.
Yeah.
It really just has to do with who they have and what casting they get to do.
You're right. I kind of feel actually it's a little bit sad, and I don't want to disparage the actor for Kang, who I think is very good. I really like. Yeah,
he's great. He's fucking great.
But if ever there was a character that could be played by a bunch of different people,
right?
That seems like the one.
But they've made it so loose where they're like sometimes a variant looks completely different and is played by a different actor and is even a different age. Like Tobey Maguire is like got like 30 years on Tom Holland.
He's 45.
Sometimes that's fine. Yeah, sometimes that's okay. Even though they all have the same name, the same aunt and uncle, the same family, they look different. And it's like, all right, I guess like the jizz did something different, or like again, like you could kind of argue it, but then sometimes Doctor Strange is the exact same age. Literally the only difference between all the variants of Doctor Strange in that movie is they have different haircuts. It's like, okay.
That's right. Yeah, they're always exactly the same. That's right. But when you think about it, if you get really deep into the multiverse, there's absolutely no reason why the timelines would line up.
Right. That's what I'm saying is the multiverse is it's a wild card.
Yeah.
And the writers are just throwing that wild card down so Eternals, they could, if they wanted to, just go, oh, that was a different universe. That's why no one's talking about it. Except I know in She-Hulk, they do have a joke about how like it's like a chyron about the baby head. So they do like an Easter egg about it, I think, or something. I didn't see that. So like it's been like a little recognized, but not much.
So I'm sorry. I feel like this is the right point for me as a responsible podcaster to interject, Dave.
Okay.
We've done 43 minutes of catching up. We have not even started talking about this movie. Can you finish catching me up, please, sir?
Yeah. Real quick. Sorry. I know. I'm sorry. We'll talk about Loki because Loki actually directly relates.
All right.
So the TVA, Loki becomes a TVA employer. We learn that all TVA employee, they are actually enslaved variants, meaning that they are people who left their timeline and wasn't supposed to and was enslaved. And that's what Owen Wilson was. They learn of these timekeepers who run the TVA, and they learn that the timekeepers are actually robot decoys for some reason. And the true creator of the TVA is someone called He Who Remains. That is, they hunt him down, and that is Jonathan Majors, one of the variants of Kang. He tells them in Loki that all of his variants had a war. And to keep the peace, he invented the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. They then kill this version of Kang, and that unleashes the multiverse in some weird way. It's unclear. And then it ends with like Loki in a different timeline or in a weird new timeline, warning people about these variants. So this was the first mention of like the big bad. The Thanos is apparently Kang and his variants.
So he claims to have, I mean, because at this point, I don't think we can trust Kang. I think that's like one takeaway. He claims to have actually been an agent of creating order in the galaxy by subduing his own variants.
Right. Which, if you notice, is the exact same thing our Kang in this one does, where he's like, there's a storm coming and I'm trying to solve it. That's what the Loki Kang does. He's not Kang. Okay. He's He Who Remains. So they've had two versions of Jonathan Majors basically doing the exact same thing, saying like, yes, I'm evil, but I'm stopping a greater evil. And then in both times, they just kill them. And then they go, I'm sure it'll be fine. So they've done the exact same story beat twice, it seems, with Kang. And again, they're just sort of, it feels like they're vamping.
Well,
yeah. Or I don't know his powers. I don't know why he's powerful enough to do this TVA stuff. I don't know where the TVA is in this current movie. I also don't know where they were in Spider-Man No Way Home, which is about I'll get through it quick. Doctor Strange, Peter Parker asked Doctor Strange to do a spell because everybody found out that he's Spider-Man. And Doctor Strange does a spell. For some reason, that spell to make people forget he's Spider-Man opens up the multiverse. Not sure why. But what it's magic. It's another wild card. It doesn't have to make sense. They don't need it to make sense because it's as fantasy as it gets.
Yeah. Sure.
Everybody loved it because it had the other Spider-Mans in it. So no one noticed that it was stupid. And so
I guess.
I mean, I even enjoyed it. I enjoyed this film.
That's what I heard. I heard everybody thought it was fine. Are you do you feel sad right now? I'm serious.
As a writer, yes. I feel very deeply sad as a writer.
I feel sad right now listening to it. I really do.
So what happens is he says, oh, what I accidentally did is I made it so that I reversed the spell. And now everybody who knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man is merging into our universe, except for Electro, who shows up, even though he never learned that. And in fact, the movie has a joke that he doesn't know. He literally at one point sees who Spider-Man is, and he's like, oh, I thought you'd be black. But the movie literally just said, we're only putting in people who know who he is. So the movie goes against its own rules within the movie. Doesn't matter because everybody wanted Jamie Foxx there. They didn't care. They don't care if it doesn't make sense.
Okay, who's Jamie Foxx? Who's Jamie Foxx?
He's Electro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they brought back everyone from even the bad Spider-Man movies that people are trying to pretend are actually good now because it's nostalgia. But those were the amazing Spider-Mans.
You know what's funny, Dave? I feel like, this is not even a bit, I feel like it would be just as fast to summarize the events of Marvel if I just started naming actors and you tell me who they play. Like, not even like Marvel actors, just naming anybody and finding out. I'm not
entirely sure who some of them, like Charlize Theron, she showed up at the end of Multiverse and I'm like, I don't know who you are. And she's like, there's no time. Because here's the other thing. Variants. That's one of the timeline things.
Right.
In Multiverse of Madness, they talk about incursions. And I don't know what the fucking difference is. Is an incursion?
It's an invading variant.
Another word. Yeah. Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Why isn't
Sure.
the TVA involved in Doctor Strange? Why isn't it showing up during Spider-Man No Way Home when all this shit is going down? If you remember at the end, basically, or you didn't see Spider-Man No Way Home, that ends with basically them reversing the spell, and they close the timeline, and everybody has forgotten who Peter Parker even is. So literally none of his friends know him anymore. No, and I don't know why that is why it had to be, but that's what it is. Okay. And I guarantee by the next Spider-Man film, they will have found a way to reverse that.
Is there a chance that there are people working really hard right now, sort of like speedrunners on video games, to like logically justify this? Like, do they have like a small army of like justifiers?
I'm sure they do. Oh, right? No, there's all sorts of nerds who angrily try to justify this. And like, I guess like, it's one of those things. It's like how the Star Wars movie like tweeted all these explanations where it's like, if you go on the wiki and you go to you're like, oh, but the comics said this and this and this. And it's like, yeah, we're not reading the comics.
And Dave, I have to point out, I believe the TVA did show up in the movie you and I watched because they were behind us.
They did at the end, yes.
They showed up. They were clapping behind us aggressively to force us to like it.
I can't stress, there was literally, did someone yell no booing when the movie started?
Yeah, dude, they were bullies.
I have to say, I think Marvel is getting to a point where it's starting to feel like fans are on tilt. Like they're mad. Yeah. They're mad that people aren't liking it anymore. It feels like the Snyderverse. When we sat down, the movie started, there was a dude, like a bro, who literally yelled, no booing at this, and was like, yeah, we like this. Yeah. And like literally throughout the movie, like when it ended, there was like aggressive, like, yeah, everybody fucking clap. And no one clapped but them, because the most of the theater was fucking silent throughout the movie.
Again, I don't want to get too far ahead, but like this is the moment where I look back on that episode of Seinfeld where George does the opposite and just stands up to those bullies, because I wanted you to be that guy, Dave.
Right, because it was super like, it felt really fucking, I know this is just our theater experience, but it felt like weird and desperate, and like this idea of like, no, you're gonna like this.
This really did. It
really
and it's
like,
did.
Fuck you, man. This isn't good. But hold on, we're not done.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
No Way Home. Multiverse. Okay, so you saw Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. I feel like I understood that enough.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense with everything else in the multiverse, and like
there's
Wanda
hell
with this dark magic book.
There's hell.
Yeah, there's hell.
That's
I guess.
A thing I know. Yeah,
the dream walking, and again, why is she bringing back her fantasy kids? It still didn't make sense. Spider-Man, Hawkeye, doesn't matter. Moving on.
Wow,
Thor,
really?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Hawkeye was fine until the last episode. It's fine. It's just a little Hawkeye adventure. It's probably the best thing they've done recently, I would argue.
And
because it was about people, you know? Like it was about characters and people interacting. Yeah. Like it was better than
I not to be 100 years old, but I remember a time where that's what made movies great.
I know. It's not about broad concepts. Thor Love and Thunder, I want to talk about briefly.
I did see that.
Okay,
I think,
because the big thing is they add the magic wish realm where Christian Bale, whose daughter has died, is killing the gods because he hates gods, and then he has to steal Thor's axe because I guess that opens a magic realm that gives you a god wish, which for some reason nobody thought to do back when the snap happened.
Yeah, why wouldn't you do that? Right.
Yeah, it's another one of those like retcon where it's like, by the way, this thing was here. And it's like, really? And Thor had access to it this whole time? Okay, sure. Weird that he didn't use the wish to bring people back and defeat Thanos.
They could make an entire feature film, and it would be the funniest film ever, by the way, of like them retconning all those like different loopholes, people trying them and them not succeeding, would be the funniest fucking movie. Like,
that'd be amazing.
It'd be incredible.
Yeah, just this bitter fucking movie about like, no, actually, none of this stuff.
They did it all.
So Stormbreaker is axe, I guess, opens to this realm for some reason, even though it was made by Peter Dinklage.
Sure.
Like 3 films before. I don't know. They don't explain why, or maybe they do and they use a bunch of gibberish. And then Christian Bale turns good at the end, I guess, even though he was bad for most of it. He brings back his daughter, and then Thor adopts the daughter, and that's that movie, I guess. And I think that wish realm is just there, like if they have to fight Kang.
Maybe it's their ace in the hole, Dave.
Yeah, I don't know. Wakanda Forever you saw. So I don't have to catch you up with that. It was a side quest, kind of like Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, it didn't seem like I needed, like, out of all the movies you've named, it seemed like the one I needed to have seen the least, actually.
Yeah.
Out of all of them, which is dumb because Black Panther's their best hero.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Well, again, it's human. It's about humans and grief and people, like, unlike WandaVision, which like just is like very superficially about grief but doesn't actually say anything. Black Panther actually like tackled the idea of mourning somebody and, you know, had a progress in the plot. Like, people were different from when they started, you know? Unlike a lot of these where nobody really changes, like Thor, straight line through Love and Thunder, I would argue.
Well,
he gets a daughter at the end, but he's just a joke character now. He's comic relief.
That was his great transformation over the series of movies they've had with him, is that he started being arrogant and terrible and started being funny.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
There are arcs. They're longer arcs and they don't move much. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you think after 30 films, these characters would be in a, like, every film begins with like, that's me. I'm back at it fighting, you know, like, and it's like, fuck, man, it's been like 30 years and you're just like, yeah, I'm still doing it. Here is me. Everything's going good. And then, oh, there's a bad guy. We defeat the bad guy and I'm a little different, but not much. And that seems like every single one where like nothing has happened. Like, in the characters, has any of the characters really moved in some like huge way? Like Thor, the guy who's been there from beginning to end, has become basically a nihilist, and he has to be because of the world he's in.
I think he's
where
meeting
nothing
the audience.
Makes sense.
He's meeting the audience where they are, right?
Yeah,
like that's
literally here. Thor is like, he started in this. His character started taking things seriously. Now he's just like, what does it fucking matter? I'm just always gonna win. I don't have nothing. You know. Oh, look at these funny goats. Like yeah, this is fun, right? You're having fun. Doesn't matter. Like, Thor really is a stand-in for the audience, I would say, at this point.
Well, he'd be a stand-in for the audience if somebody was right behind him clapping aggressively at every cool thing he said. Right?
Yes. My fucking God. Yes. Yeah. So it basically is that. It's like, hey, don't worry about it, guys. It's funny, right? It's fun. And it's like, yeah, but none of it makes sense. And because it doesn't make any sense, I stopped caring. I'm emotionally detached.
There's never been a person that I haven't seen but felt more confident I could kick their ass than the guy who's forcing everyone to clap at this movie.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, just like, nah, bro, nah, I'm not having it.
But on that subject, is there anything else to catch you up with?
You're asking me?
Do you have any questions with that? We've caught you up.
Dude, I have nothing but questions, but like half of them are about being angry because like everything you said infuriated me. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
And I don't want to like be the worst guy in the world because we've done 57 minutes of catching. But
we got up.
I don't
feel
know,
caught up.
I mean, yeah, in that like what I took away from it is the broccoli-headed guy is in tone with what Marvel's doing now.
Yeah, it's just
like
nihilism.
It's all in tone. Yeah, it really is.
Disregard for storytelling completely.
Like it's like postmodernism, but like without the attempt to create meaning.
Yeah, a good comparison. A good comparison is like the final Transformers films that like at the time, because we worked at Cracked for those. I always remember this, and I always want people to remember this. I would point out that those movies sucked when they came out.
Of course.
And you'd get all these comments of people going like, it's just fun. You're so uptight about it. All the way years later, the internet can't agree more that those movies were terrible.
Of course.
And that's the thing is like, I'm telling you all now, these movies are terrible. They're falling apart at the seams.
I walked out
just like those Transformers movies were. They're just noise and like some funny jokes, but most of them are
not
like
really.
Yeah, I was about to say the jokes are like feel really old now, like 5 years old.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, okay. So
I walked out and I looked Dave in the eye and I said that was trash. That is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's
sorry. Okay,
trash.
I was going to ask you, how did you like Ant-Man? I never actually asked you. How did you like
trash?
This movie?
It's pure fucking unburnt, reeking trash. And here's what I mean by that. I know there's a lot of talent. Bill Pope DP'd it. I think Jeff Lovelace is a funny guy. He's a good writer, even. Like, I don't even hate the directing. The camera shots made sense. It's
everything's
not that.
against them. Everything's against them. They're not.
This enterprise of trying to make a movie that's connective tissue when also they're trying to like, haha, what if nothing matters, is futile.
It's creatively bankrupt.
It's futile.
Yeah, it's like a troll where they can hide behind the idea of like, yeah, you just have fun with it. And it's like, I'm not having fun if there's no rules, because then
That's
literally
right.
anything can happen. At the end of that, I guess we're talking about Ant-Man now. At the end, they just create a portal and they're like, that's how we'll escape. And it's like, how did you create the portal? Michelle Pfeiffer just picks up the gizmo, the MacGuffin, and like goes on a computer and presses some things. And it's like, here's a portal. I guess we could do this. And it's like, so you're not going to explain the pivotal thing, which is we're trapped in the quantum realm. How do we get out?
Yeah.
You'd think the answer would be clever. And it's not. They just create, they yada it. They just go, here's a portal. And it's like, okay.
They could have like trapped them down there for 10 years of this like Marvel thing. They could have really had a cool, like a WWE style comeback. Like, shit, it's Ant-Man. That could have been cool.
Right. And again, like why is anything the way it is? If we were dealing with alien races, they would all be different. Why is there a mind reading guy? Why do some people look like humans? Some look like amoebas. Why is there a broccoli head? They're just like, yeah, it's another realm. And it's like, okay, but it's on the quantum level. Does that mean anything? Are there rules?
I think it meant that means it's such a free for all because we don't understand the quantum that we're going to do stuff that's like impossible and say that it's funny and then comment that it's dumb and think that's funny. And like, no, you can't have all things.
So many times they did it with MODOK too, where they're
MODOK,
like, look how stupid he looks, and it's like, yeah. He sure looks stupid. You're right.
I looked
you
you
made
in the
him look
fucking
dumb.
eyes. I looked Dave in the eyes when MODOK came, and I was like, that is a TikTok filter gone wrong. That is the worst thing I've seen in this whole franchise. It's so dumb and bad. It was like, this is
the culmination of everything I've recapped, I guess, which is that it also felt like, okay, here's another future jail where it looks just like the jail on Asgard, looks just like the Thor 2 jail, or not 2. Well, there is no Thor 2 and also Ragnarok. Like, here's future space jail. You've seen it. Has the force fields. Hey, here's another walkway that they're fighting on. Remember the bridge fights? Every fucking Thor has a bridge fight.
They love bridge fights. They love them so much.
Yeah. It's just the most derivative. And then it ended with just a fucking army fight.
Dave.
And it's just like, hey, here are ants. Did you know the ants were here this whole time?
The ants are the best thing. The ants are the best thing in the world.
It was like a kid playing make-believe where they're like, oh, by the way, the ants were here this whole time.
Yes.
Like, Michael Douglas just has to quickly explain that the ants have been involved, like halfway through the movie. They don't set that up.
Have you ever seen Toy Story, Dave?
No, yes.
The majestic film Toy Story. You may not recall this, but Toy Story begins with Andy playing a hilarious game of cops and robbers and whatever with the toys.
Yeah.
And the joke of it is, look at all this nonsensical shit the kid says to make the game make sense.
Right.
These movies are as if somebody looked at that and said, now we got to make sure we retcon every piece of Mr. Potato Head as the bad guy and give him his own film so we can justify doing it. And it's like, honestly, no, man, no.
I know people have said this for a long time, but it is banging action figures today out there, quite literally.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, and it's just, this movie was nonsense.
No, it
was storytelling gibberish, and the characters, nothing happened with them. Like, half of them didn't even need to be there. The Wasp didn't really do anything. There's very little arcs. There's characters it's just nothing happened.
Dave,
it was just noise.
I got a proposition for you.
Okay.
I hope you're ready for this proposition. Let's just not talk about this movie. Let's just fucking move on, man.
I think we're done. Yeah, I think we're done.
I don't want to talk about this movie. It was that bad. I don't want to.
Yeah.
This whole thing was one like a cosmic fart, man. It really was.
It was really bad, folks.
Yeah, I hated it.
And it was boring. Like I got bored during it.
Yeah.
Because like when you don't know the rules or the stakes, and if at this point you know no one's gonna die and nothing's gonna matter, then like it's just boring and noisy, and the world was I don't know, colorful, but again they didn't explain it in any way.
There's so much talent in front of the camera, behind the camera, at the blank computer screen, every which way you look.
Yeah.
This movie is loaded up with talent in a way that so few projects have ever been. And nobody is able to make anything because the Enterprise is self-refuting.
Yeah.
The Enterprise is self-refuting and no longer deserves to exist. And that's it to me. That's
it. I agree, because they threw all the talent in the world at this, and they can't make a coherent film because the movie, the franchise itself at this point is just so bogged down that nothing makes sense anymore. And like, there was like, they have to set up this and that and that and that and that. Like everything is like trying to set up the next thing and trying to explain the last thing. And all while they're trying to wink at us and say, hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And it's like, okay, I won't worry about it. I won't watch these anymore.
Like
that's how I won't worry about it.
They have phases planned all the way into Disassembled. Like, so they have movies planned for literally 10 years from now. Including a Spider-Man movie. And by the way, there is more Shang-Chi. I don't know if you looked at that, Dave. And there is more Eternals. In 2030, we're getting Eternals Supreme Power.
No, we're not.
Dude, look at it. I'm looking at it right now.
I know they're saying that. I just don't believe it. I don't believe that in 2030, people are going to be sitting down to watch Eternals. I don't believe that people will be excited. Maybe I'll be wrong. I'm not making an official prediction. I just can't see that happening. But I don't know. Maybe Fantastic Four will bring it back. I think they just need to end this and then just do a separate X-Men thing or whatever.
I mean, so God, because now I guess if I wanted to make this return this back to entertainment value, there's one move they could do that would actually work, and that move is Kang destroys the multiverse. There is no multiverse. We're back to one, and they kill off a bunch of heroes and they stay dead. That is the only thing they could do that would really
I mean, here's the thing. This might do really well. Did that haunting thought ever cross your mind?
Every time one of these things comes out, it haunts my mind. Of course, I'm this is a deeply worrying trend. All these movies are deeply worrying because, like it or not, the thing that they're sort of ripping down, the structures and the things that they're ripping down, are actually coherence and the meanings behind words and stuff. That's what they're tearing down, and that's a real problem for us as artists, for us as for our culture. It's a problem. You know?
I have a theory on what's going on.
Okay.
Because it has nothing to do with audiences. Audiences know when something is well written. They know when a movie is good.
They can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have gone through a horrendous time.
The pandemic, you mean?
The pandemic.
Okay.
Fucking bring it all the way back to 9/11. We've had terrible times. It's been one emergency after another. We've had very little time to rest. I think generally speaking, people just want to fucking go into a theater and be entertained as best they can. And they will accept it if it's well written or not. And what studios have realized is they've seen that and they've said, oh, so we don't have to try very hard. Is what nobody is demanding that we make much sense, because people are going to come out of this and go, yeah, it wasn't good, but I had fun. And it's if you're not seeing that many movies a year, if you're getting high, if you're going out with friends, having a few drinks, going on a date, just trying to have a nice night, it's just it's a movie. I didn't quite understand it. I don't remember what that character was, but it was funny. They said some jokes. You can bring the family, you can bring the kids, etc.
I'm reconciled to the idea. I'm reconciled.
The problem.
Sorry, real quick. I'm reconciled to the idea that movies are no longer fundamentally a theater experience. Like I'm reconciled to that.
Yeah.
I think the theater experience matters, but I'm reconciled to it because the industry has definitely like forced us to choose between the kinds of cinematic genres that don't interest me, and also I think don't advance the art form other than the tech.
Right.
You know?
I just think that people aren't generally picky, and like some dumb movies are like Top Gun, the new Top Gun. It's kind of dumb. You know, it's like
it's like a lot better than this, man. Like
I know. Well, that's what I'm about to say.
Yeah,
that's what I'm about to say. It's still like, oh, it's a dumb Hollywood flick. You know, like it's formulaic. The unknown bad guys. Oh, they have to defeat them at the end, and of course they do. I think most audiences, and it has again, it's not there. It's not on them. Don't see too much of a difference between the two, even though one was made with a lot more care in like the effects, the action, the craftsmanship. I mean, I do think most people will say, oh, Top Gun was way better than Ant-Man. I just think generally speaking, in terms of box offices and performance, most people are still just going to go, I'll see both. Or it doesn't really matter as much as it matters to someone like us who are paying attention to this stuff, who see this as creatively bankrupt.
And who want good things to make money, and who want to make good things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and maybe like maybe ultimately our passion is going to get, whittled down to be the equivalent of being super excited about my soldering technique at the fucking, at the old iron mines. Like maybe it will become that unimportant to everyone else is what I'm getting at. And like, okay, that's fine, but that doesn't make this good.
No, this is a bad movie.
It's not good.
That's the thing, is this is objectively a bad movie, I would argue.
By any
that has nothing
metric.
to do with whether or not people enjoy it or not, but I don't see how someone would enjoy this movie, considering that I can't stress this enough. It bored me. The jokes didn't make me laugh. Nothing mattered.
I'll tell you the part that I laughed the hardest at, and you remember this, Dave. This is the part that I laughed the hardest at. There's a moment.
Oh, I do remember.
There's a moment when everyone gets separated, right? Because there's two different fucking areas in the quantum verse, which is already like, why? But okay, fine. So there's, and like, we've just gone through the Mos Eisley, quantum cantina, and it sucks. And Bill Murray's there, whatever. And like half of the crew needs to get to the other half of the crew. And so they summon a giant space manta ray, and Michelle Pfeiffer walks up to it. Or maybe it's Michael Douglas. I don't remember.
No, it's Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer walks up to it, touches it, and goes, "It's friendly."
It's friendly. It was like, yeah, no shit.
It's friendly. Like we could possibly care about that. Like we could possibly have been worried. Like it was possible. Like, yeah, like is there any way that thing's disposition could have mattered in this place?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Don't worry, it's friendly.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Very funny. Like deeply, deeply funny. That kind of stuff I love. So I don't know. Maybe that's the joke that does it for
best part
everyone.
of the movie.
So I really believe that's a good joke. Like I really think that's a pretty good joke. I don't
think it was intended as a joke.
I don't know, man. I kind like Jeff Loveless writes for Rick and Morty, or did, and so I kind of feel like he does know. I guess I just want to give him the benefit of the doubt. He seems like a cool guy. I like his writing.
Oh yeah, I mean,
on Rick and Morty,
again,
at least.
My guess, and I can't speak for this writer, is that they gave him all these rules and shit, and he just gave him like his easy stuff. You know what I mean? He gave him the stuff that he won't use in Rick and Morty. Like he's like, oh, look at that. Here's a guy with a broccoli head. What do the characters say? They go, is that guy's head broccoli? There, we're done. Moving on. And the executives were like, oh yeah, that's funny. And it's like, sure, man. Like I'm guessing he didn't give it his all.
I'm guessing it got picked over. That's what I'm guessing. It got picked over by notes and notes and notes and notes.
That's what I mean, is that so many notes at a certain point where you just realize like, oh, okay, you're just like a clapping seal. You just like bright colors. I can give you that. Like it's that stuff where it feels like it was the easiest, laziest jokes because whoever was making it just didn't care. You know what I mean?
Well,
at a certain point.
This is now we're just speculating on, things that we don't know.
I mean, I just got lazy from this movie. I got lazy.
I will say, like, I've met a series of people who are in executive roles, most of them incredibly talented and capable, but there is a vibe that I sometimes get with like producer types where they just get so excited to see something cool and big on the screen.
Yeah.
Like, and this really feels like those voices won, you know, however, whatever form they took, it really feels like the rope.
Yeah. They want something and then they're like, but why is that in the story? And they're like, well, you'll figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
I have that in the story. And then find a reason for it to be there.
The Robot Foot Clan alone felt very much like a decision by like cool guys. You know what I mean? Like what if the Foot Clan with robot voices, but they glowed?
Right.
You know what I mean? By the way, did you notice there's a Wilhelm screen, but obscured by robotic effects?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they remember how they spent enough time to watch one robot get kicked over and scream? Remember that? Remember
yes.
Yeah,
and he was
I'm pretty sure it's a Wilhelm scream. I'm not, but I'm pretty sure that's
that
what
almost
it is.
made me laugh. That part.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about this movie?
I
though?
don't know, man. We violated our agreement. So I don't know what we're doing here.
I don't want to talk about this movie. This movie exhausted me.
Yeah, I guess we did talk about it for 15 minutes, so people can't technically be mad at us.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Yeah, we did our job.
Right.
We've done it.
We
did it.
did our job. We
did
clocked in.
Yeah.
Adam, thank you so much.
Hey, all right. Thank you.
Any other final thoughts? Any final thoughts, I guess.
Final thoughts are to any of you out there who love Marvel movies and are hurt by this podcast. I want to look you right in the eye as a human being, looking at another human being and say, I don't understand what you love now. I don't understand it. I don't think you're wrong for loving whatever you love, man. You do you. But I don't understand it by any objective metric. And we do need objective metrics to have conversations at all about anything. This is not a great movie. That's all.
Yeah. No. By the standards in which movies have always been held in the past, this is not a good movie. And I think anybody trying to act like this Marvel... this phases, the entire thing is good in a writing sense. Like, I think that means that's evidence of the bar being lowered, the standards being lowered, where it's like, no, we should never say, oh, but actually this is good. And like, I'm already exhausted for 20 years from now when people go, those actually weren't bad because I was a kid then. You know, I mean, like, there's that nostalgia where it's like, I was a kid for these, therefore they were good. It's just like, it's just, but again, there's a difference between liking something. It's fine liking something. I like Moonfall, and that movie's terrible.
Sure. And it'll fall by the wayside in 20 years.
100%. That movie is not going to be remembered by anyone but me. I will be 90 years old. I mean, let's be honest. I won't live that long, but I'll be 90 years old. Talking about Moonfall, there's nothing wrong with liking bad things.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, and maybe we're on tilt because of those fucking weirdos in the theaters who are like insisting that everybody like the movie that was bad.
I'm tired of people like that being around and because the willing to.
That's because the internet.
I'm tired of that pushing everybody else's common sense to the side. I'm tired of it.
Yeah,
that. Like, I am willing to fight that. I am absolutely willing to fight that.
Yeah, I also don't like... I personally do feel like, again, the Transformers movies were dumb, too. There's been tons of dumb movies ever since the 70s.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just frustrating in the moment. Like, even if... Like, I don't think this is, like, the end of cinema, No, I don't think...
Definitely not.
Any of that. I think there's always been dumb movies, and when you're away from them, you're less connected. But this is a podcast about a bad movie we watched. So naturally, I'm upset about how bad it was.
There's one thing about...
It's upsettingly, it was a waste of my time. It's in the moment. It's always like an emotional thing that like in the long run isn't going to matter, There's like, fuck do I care in a year or in a month? Like, I'm going to forget about this movie days from now.
I do think there's one merit to this Marvel endeavor from what it like. I think there's one larger merit to it that this film actually encapsulates, which is I believe Marvel has explored the current depths of human comprehension, and I'm serious of entertainment comprehension.
You're right. No, you're right.
And like how much does the actual technique structures and meaning of things impact enjoyment. They are pushing that as far as anyone has ever pushed it.
I do want to talk about that, actually. I hate to keep going.
Oh, my God, Dave. I was just signing off.
There is a sign. You could argue that Marvel is actually evidence that audiences have gotten smarter.
Absolutely.
And what I mean by that
absolutely.
is that over time, like the idea of multiverses or time travel has to be explained less and less because everybody understands the concepts. However, because audiences can fill in the blanks now, they might not notice sometimes that the blanks are garbage. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where like they're actually leaning on the fact that audiences are more sophisticated. There's a magician who used a tactic where he would take a ball and he would throw it from one hand to the other, right? And while he was doing that, people would follow it with their sight. What they wouldn't see is that at the same time, he was tossing another object back to the first hand. No one would see it because they're too busy watching the ball. And our minds didn't really see what was happening. We're just filling in the blanks. And so the point being that the writers are doing a similar thing, which is that they know we'll fill in the blanks. They'll know we'll infer like, oh, okay, this quantum realm, it's got a bunch of weird creatures. It's like the space realm. Okay, we got it. We don't need it explained. Oh, the houses are moving. But like if you stop for a second and actually ask like, wait, I do want it explained. You realize that it doesn't make any sense. And in fact, the writers were just finding an easy way to move the story. They were using the fact that we can infer tons of things to sort of just like let us fill in the blanks with whatever we feel like, to the point that this is almost like an abstract film.
All writing has always been, from the beginning of time till now, has always been about including things and leaving things out. Always.
Yeah.
All
what
narrative.
do you assume the audience will figure out on their own? And what's happening now is it feels like they're relying more and more on our imagination to fill in the blanks.
Right.
Where it's like everybody probably has figured out a different reason to justify why the quantum realm is what it is. No one, like, because they don't explain it, we can all in our heads just go like, oh, I guess it's this or that. He's got a broccoli head. So I don't know. He comes from like a broccoli spore or something. And it's we're doing all the work for them at that point.
I would argue it's actually not that. Like, I think the mistake is believing that that's the same thing as the imagination that we all felt when we watched Mos Eisley Cantina.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think what they think is interesting is like, what if you had to figure out the justifications for this? And when I think what George Lucas found interesting is imagine what else could be true in a world that's based on this.
Yeah. Oh,
you know?
for sure.
And those are very different acts. One of them is a fundamentally creative act, and the other one is a fundamentally like an act of rationality, which is not entertaining.
No, and it's lazy on their part to be able to say like, yeah, you'll figure it out. You'll make up something in your head why this is why it is, and then we move on. We don't have to talk about this anymore, do we?
No, Dave.
Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Sure, you're welcome. I endured the pain.
Yeah, you did.
You did too.
Together.
At least we had fun. At least we didn't get that couple photograph taken of us in the Johnny Rockets.
We went on a date.
We went to Johnny Rockets. It was great.
It was great.
We were two assholes there, and some lady came up and said, "Do you guys want a picture?" And we both instantly said no, and then probably spent the next hour regretting that.
Yes,
because we could have had a picture. Amazing.
It's like we didn't want evidence. We were like, oh God, no, please, no.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We were like, we don't want to be seen in public. And then I realized there's nothing funnier than the idea of Dave and I being in a restaurant eating a burger together before seeing this movie. Like, that's the comedy highlight of the evening, right?
It was, yeah. It was a great time. At Universal City Walk, baby.
Yep, we did it again.
Yeah. And we'll do it another time.
Probably.
Hopefully not for a Marvel movie.
Hopefully not. I'd really like to not watch a Marvel movie for a while.
I keep saying like, man, last time. And then I'm like, fuck it. Because it was like, there's nothing else to cover. Got to cover some popular movies, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is all there is. So.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Big giant sigh. I can't recommend the works of Albert Camus enough after this film. You know, can't recommend the Sartre and existentialism enough. Everyone, find a way to create your meaning in this universe.
Yes.
This fraying tapestry of entertainment.
Adam, do you want to plug anything?
Yeah, if you enjoyed this vitriol, there's much less of it in my video game podcast, One-Upsmanship, which is in general a lot more positive about the films we review and video games we review. Also, you may be aware that that from time to time I've popped up on this network. It's not always for Marvel films. If you do a little Googling, you might find some other podcasts I've done on Gamefully Unemployed that nobody's proud of. You know, that's all. Just that.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, yeah, if you guys liked this hate,
I don't know how did.
We also review good movies that we like. I've been doing that actually more lately. Like if you go and look at the ones that I've been covering lately have been like indie films, interesting films, and we'll probably do more of that where we'll occasionally still do a big movie, but I think you can tell why we shy away from them.
We're old grouches.
Don't be surprised if we skip over some Marvel films. But they're also spread out enough that it's like, I guess we'll cover them when they come.
That's how they get you, Dave. That's how they're getting you.
I know. Point is, you can go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed, GAMEFULOY, unemployed. For $5 a month, you get access to a bunch of other exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons as well. Go to gamefullyunemployed.com for our merch store. And that is it. Ant-Man.
Phew.
We watched it.
Yeah.